Welcome to Beer and Iron's Highfalutin Cordon Bleu Meatloaf baked in a camp cast iron Dutch oven. Y'all, I gotta tell you, this one's easy. A bit of a mess on your hands it'll leave, but there's no chopping or searing. It'll be a dump and bake kind of meal. There's a beer gravy that I make with this recipe that's a little more complicated than the actual meatloaf itself. I'm going to show you how to cook both. When you think of chicken, ham, and cheese, Cordon Bleu comes to mind. I'm sure of it. I've wondered what chicken Cordon Bleu means, language-wise. Well, it's French. Translated to English, literally, it means blue cord. I found sources that say it means blue ribbon. Blue ribbon, blue cord, potato, it's all good. I've learned that the blue ribbon title does not necessarily identify the dish as a blue ribbon winning dish. Cordon Bleu, or blue ribbon, indicates a kind of ribbon worn by an order of knights in France during the 16th century, kind of like an insignia or a rank of sorts. Other sources tell me it was an award given to chefs who have mad cooking skills. They must have all been cooking in cast iron, that's for sure. I've even heard that the chicken Cordon Bleu didn't originate in France at all. Some say a lady in Switzerland created the Cordon Bleu recipe. Others say that a recipe involving chicken stuffed with ham and cheese presented during a 1930s France cooking competition, it won first place. And the name of that dish was Le Cordon Bleu. I didn't know what to call this dish at first. Blue ribbon may be an award for a chicken, ham, and cheese recipe, or it may be an award for that awesome chef that created the dish, or blue ribbon may indicate a high-ranking knight in 16th century France. Who knows? But where I'm from, fancy chefs and French knights are what we call highfalutin. So I went with it. This recipe will surely make a highfalutin meal to enjoy in the great big outdoors. For the meatloaf, my suggestion is to use a 10-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven. A deep or regular 10-inch oven will work a-okay. If all you have is a 12-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven, it'll work as well, but will create a thinner or more shallow meatloaf. For the gravy, my suggestion is to use your 8-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven. However, I know many of y'all ain't got an 8-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven, and that's okay. A cast iron skillet will work just fine too. Use a Lodge 4-in-1 camp Dutch oven tool, also known as a folding Dutch oven lid stand, to keep the skillet above the fire or the briquettes. Chef's tip: if you use a skillet, keep a hand on that handle when you're creating that gravy. That pan will move and slide all around as you whisk and stir. You want that gravy on the meatloaf and not off in the dirt. Be sure to bring you a glove or something to hold on to that hot handle with too. On a side note, I'll often make the recipe one more time before publishing one of these videos. The other day, my wife picked up what she thought was 2 pounds of ground chicken. She picked up 2 pounds of ground chicken sausage. Figured, why not? You only live once, right? And man, I gotta tell you, God bless America and all our ships at sea. That there was what we from Louisiana call lagniappe, a little something extra. I'm telling you what, it was delicious. There's 2 parts to this recipe: the chicken meatloaf itself and the beer gravy. Chicken meatloaf ingredients: 2 pounds of ground chicken, 2 teaspoons of minced onion or 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 to 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, or a half to 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of fresh chopped parsley, or you can use 2 to 4 teaspoons of dried parsley, 1 egg, 1/4 cup of plain breadcrumbs, or you can use Panko Crumbs, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, Sliced ham. Use some nice deli cut thin sliced ham for this recipe. About 8 ounces does the trick, give or take, don't you know. 6 slices of a good thinner cut Swiss cheese, or a white cheese, or a cheddar cheese. You use what you want. I'm going with Swiss cheese. For the gravy, the ingredients are 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of an easy drinking lager. Avoid your IPAs or other beers with a higher IBU or International Bitters Unit. If you feel the beer's hoppiness will add too much bitterness to the dish, you could substitute chicken broth or even milk. Heck y'all, mix it up a bit. Do half and half of your choice. 1/4 cup of some heavy cream. In a pinch, some half and half will be a-okay. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. You could just shred some cheese here, no worries. And yep, salt and pepper to taste. And the few other ingredients are 3/4 cup or a cup of Panko breadcrumbs for the topping. You could use plain breadcrumbs if you like. 1/2 to 1 tablespoon of butter to coat the inside surface of that Camp cast iron Dutch oven. I'll tell you why in just a bit. Here are the instructions. Step 1. Prepare and chop your parsley.
She's chopping parsley, she's chopping parsley.
My suggestion is to do this at home and port it to camp. Chop enough for the recipe and even a bit to garnish with. You could use dried parsley if you like. Just consider the 3-to-1 ratio of fresh to dried by volume. 1 tablespoon of fresh equals 1 teaspoon of dry, most of the time. For the meatloaf, my suggestion is to use a 10-inch Camp cast iron Dutch oven. If all you have is a 12-inch Dutch, it'll work okay, but it'll just create a thinner and shallower meatloaf. For the gravy, my suggestion is to use an 8-inch Camp cast iron Dutch oven. But if you don't have an 8-inch Camp cast iron Dutch oven, that's okay. A cast iron skillet will work fine. Just use that lid stand to keep that skillet up and above those fire briquettes. Chef's tip. Also, a small cast iron pot would work good too. This one here may be too small, but it may work to hold our gravy and keep it warm if we're using it in an open air skillet or a pot without a lid. And, truth be known, even a side propane camp stove with a small covered pot would work. But we'll stick to the cast iron here in the video. Grab a large enough bowl here. What do I mean by large enough? Just large enough to hold our ingredients. I'm going to wear gloves here. It's not necessary, but it sure keeps the hands clean when at camp and there's no sink to wash off at. Step 2. In that large enough bowl, add these ingredients. 2 pounds of ground chicken. 2 teaspoons of minced onion or 1 teaspoon of onion powder. 1 to 2 teaspoons of minced garlic or 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm adding 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic. 1/4 to 1/2 cup of chopped fresh parsley. 1 egg. 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs or Panko Crumbs. A teaspoon of salt. A teaspoon of ground black pepper. 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. Use a rubber spatula or your hands to really get this mixed up well. Once it's mixed up real well, Split the mixture into 2 separate and equal portions. I'll tell you why in just a bit. Step 3. Blend the gravy ingredients in a smaller bowl. 1 cup of beer. If you like, substitute or mix with chicken broth. One-fourth cup of heavy cream, or half and half. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I normally don't measure over my ingredients, but a little extra of this magic sauce is very okie dokie. 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Salt and pepper to taste, literally. Once it's blended, give it a taste and check the saltiness before adding your salt and pepper. Do not blend in the Parmesan cheese, butter, or the flour in with the gravy ingredients yet. Step 4. Use some soft butter to coat the inside of the room temperature camp cast iron Dutch oven. Don't preheat your camp cast iron Dutch oven for this recipe. About 1/2 to 1 tablespoon of butter works the best. Don't use melted butter or add butter to a hot pot. Just smear a chunk of butter around in there to coat the inside surface. Smeared on butter in the bottom of a camp cast iron pot is one of the best ways to both keep the dish from sticking and will add flavor to our meal. Yep, I know your pot is well seasoned, but trust me on this one, butter is the key. Step 5. Take out 1/2 of the meatloaf mixture and add this as a first layer to the camp cast iron Dutch oven. Smooth it out nice and flat. Try to keep that thickness as even as possible. Step 6. Top the first layer with the thin slices of ham. Add few or many, it's up to you. Start with the ham is my suggestion. It's not as rigid or as firm as the cheese. Use thin cut ham here. You know how ham is. Thicker ham doesn't cut very well when it's hot and cooked. You know what I mean. Thin sliced ham is preferred, but in a pinch, just use what you got. Step 7. Cover the ham with slices of Swiss cheese. The reason I put the cheese on over the ham is because the cheese is more rigid than the ham and will stay put better than the ham when we add our second layer of meatloaf. Step 8. Cover the cheese with the other half of the meatloaf mixture. Smooth it out nice and flat and even. This is the reason to add the cheese layer over the ham. Smoothing out the top meatloaf mixture layer over the thin ham would just pull the ham up and complicate the smoothing. Again, you know what I mean. And that's it. Put the lid on that pot and let's go play with fire. There are 3 heat sources I use when I cook at camp. One is just plain old-fashioned fire in the fire pit. That takes pre-preparation and time to get a nice bunch of hot coals for cooking. These little sticks are not suitable for cooking. they wouldn't make enough hot coals. For the most part, if you find yourself in a quagmire, literally or figuratively, we could make these little sticks work if we really needed to. For the most part, I use either same-sized charcoal briquettes or odd-sized lumped charcoal. When I teach others how to cook in a camp cast iron Dutch oven, I use charcoal briquettes. This makes for more precise cooking temperatures. Well, if precise can be used to describe outdoor cooking. And it also helps to visually identify an appropriate amount of heat when cooking with odd-sized lumped charcoal or campfire embers. Eventually, most develop an eye for what tin charcoal briquettes look like when adding hot fire pit embers or odd-sized lumped charcoal to the camp cast iron Dutch oven. Step 9. Set 30 to 35 briquettes to fire. How did I come up with 30 to 35? We'll bake this dish at a goal temperature of 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Using the Time 2 guideline and considering our 10-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven, we'll need 20 to 21 total briquettes, 6 or 7 under the Dutch, and 13 to 14 on top on the lid. We'll also need a few to create our gravy. Considering an 8-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven, or even a 10.25-inch cast iron skillet, I'm suggesting another 5 to 10 or so. We'll be actively creating the gravy and not just leaving that to bake. So we can just add or remove heat if we need to, and when we need to. Get the 2 Dutch ovens ready. Toss in 3 tablespoons of butter to that gravy pot. This will give the butter some time to warm up and soften. Meanwhile, I'm going to have a beer. Old Rasputin from North Coast is a go-to for me. One of my favorite times during the cook is when the charcoal briquettes are firing up. This mid-cook break is a nice time to enjoy the outdoors and just relax. Once the briquettes are hot and at the ready, set 6 or 7 briquettes on the base or surface you plan to cook over. We're going to put our camp cast iron Dutch oven over these 6 or 7 briquettes. They're going to go underneath. Set the Dutch oven over the 6 or 7 briquettes, and then add 13 or 14 briquettes on the lid of the Dutch oven. If you're enjoying this video, y'all go on and give a thumbs up. Click on that subscribe button and ring that dinner bell. Set the smaller Dutch oven over a bit more heat than you would if you were baking. We're going to make a roux here in just a bit, and we need a really hot pot. But don't let that butter burn. Step 10. Bake for 15 minutes. Step 11. This is when we're going to make our gravy. Once the butter is fry ready and hot, add the flour to create a blonde or white roux. You could go a bit onto the red roux, but we really need to keep it lighter for the best possible thickening power. Step 12. Add the pre-mixed gravy ingredients to the white roux and blend in well. Step 13. Back to our chicken meatloaf and the larger Dutch oven. After 15 minutes, turn the pot. Turn the lid in one direction 1/3 of a turn, and then the whole pot 1/3 of a turn in the other direction. Check your gravy once in a while. Make sure it's not scorching. Just a bit of heat will do the trick. There's nothing wrong with a taste test to see how things are going. Step 14. Once the meatloaf has baked for another 15 minutes, 30 minutes total, remove the lid and give it a peek. Does it look baked and ready? If you have a temperature probe, check the middle temperature. At 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 75 degrees Celsius, the meal is ready to eat. But if it is slightly less than 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 75 degrees Celsius, that's okay. We'll be adding our panko crumbs in a bit. Then we're going to let the meal broil to toast up those panko crumbs. So if it's just a bit below 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 75 degrees Celsius, remember there's still some more cooking time to get that meal up to temperature. I set a fajita skillet over my hot pot to preheat. This is going to be my dinner plate and what I'm going to enjoy my meal on. There's nothing like serving a hot meal that cools off too fast before you can sit down and enjoy it. There's some caveats to this for sure, like how do you hold that hot skillet while you're trying to eat and drink your beer? Step 15. Once the gravy has thickened up, add 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Reduce the heat by a lot and let it simmer and thicken. Step 16. Once the meatloaf has baked for 30 minutes, remove all of the heat from the bottom of the pot. Add the 3/4 to 1 cup of panko crumbs to the top of the meatloaf. Let the dish broil and get all toasted up. Once the meal reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 75 degrees Celsius and the panko crumbs are all nice and toasty, pull the heat from the Dutch oven and let's eat. There are 2 ways to serve this meal. Add all or some of the gravy to the top of the meatloaf and then serve directly from the pot. Or you can serve from the pot and then add the gravy on the plate. It's up to you. I prefer using wooden utensils with my cast iron. My suggestion is to use a thin wooden spatula or even a metal spatula to serve this meal. The ham is what is needing this attention to detail. thicker slices of ham may not cut as easily with a thicker utensil. If the ham does not cut with the meatloaf, you'll just pull extra pieces of ham from the middle of someone else's serving. Think of biting a chicken sandwich with a tough piece of chicken in that sandwich. Yeah, it pulls right out of there, don't it? Here's a chef's tip. Let the meatloaf rest a bit before serving. It'll let everything settle down, and it'll come out better on the plate. And much of that liquid will either steam off or reincorporate into the meal. If you've enjoyed this video and recipe, be sure to give good old Soulé a thumbs up. Click on that subscribe button and give a ring on that dinner bell. And that's all, y'all. Cheers. We'll see you next time on beerandiron.com.
Sun sinks low beyond pines, flames dancing in the twilight. I'm stoking coals under this old camp Dutch oven while Soulé's humming by my side. Cooking stew in our Dutch oven, old Rasputin's in our hands. Evening breeze and laughter mixing in the heart of these wild lands. Just me and Soulé with our firelight, beer in hand, stars shining bright. Meal simmers in the cast iron, smoke drifts up to greet the sky. Every sip tastes like freedom's promise as the night breeze wanders by. Cooking stew in our Dutch oven, old Rasputin in our hands. Evening breeze and laughter mixing in the heart of these wild lands. Just me and Soulé with our firelight, beer in hand, stars shining bright. Fire's low now, embers glowing, last drop savored till it's gone. In these woods with Soulé's laughter, we'll be back before too long.